What is up, YouTube? Welcome to the fourth quarter with at Siggy V and JT Magnum, otherwise known as at Optimus Magnum on Twitter. Welcome to the fourth quarter, where we do 4 topics in 10 minutes, and we're going to get this started right away and get into the first topic. Push and tell. The Patriots-Jets game gets decided on a push rule that was implemented this year. Siggy, what do you think about that?
All right, so a lot of Patriot fans were just bawling on Twitter about this, and I stir the pot a lot. I'm a Jets fan. I got a lot of people that follow me that are Patriots fans. They're in the Boston area, and to me, it just couldn't have been a more perfect ending than to have controversy finally go against the Patriots, because let's face it, the Patriots always get these kind of calls for them, but yet you never see them ever consider all the other teams that get screwed by the refs. So it's finally, in my opinion, the Patriots get it. All of a sudden you have every Patriot fan say, well, it's Goodell is after the Patriots. It's like completely oblivious that they've had calls all these years for them. Now, should I be surprised that they got called out on it? Because apparently Rex Ryan knew about this rule, and apparently he saw on tape that the Patriots were taking advantage of this thing against the Saints the week prior, and they tipped off the refs, the Jets did, that you need to be watching out for this or looking out for it. And sure enough, it came down to the end. First time it was called, apparently, and the rest is history. Should we be surprised that the Patriots are trying to get away with something that they should know about? No. You've already seen that with Spygate. And then should we be surprised that they're crying about this? No, because everybody knows that the Oakland Raiders have still legit beef about the tuck rule back in the day. So
oh yeah,
like
and that was a fumble. I don't care what anybody says back in the day or whatever. That was a fumble by the Patriots, Tom Brady, and that stupid tuck rule was the most stupidest thing I ever heard of. But I see it as I see it two ways. I see one way where the refs probably shouldn't make that call at the end of a game because it's them deciding a game, and that I understand. But at the same time, you broke a rule. You broke a rule, and it should be called because you shouldn't break rules, whether it's the end of the game or early in the game or whatever, to have a ref decide a game. If you don't want a ref deciding a game, then don't break the rules. But and they tried to say that the Jets did it too, which the Jets did. But 2 wrongs don't make a right, and it's not going to change anything. So that doesn't, just because they did it doesn't mean you can do it. And if you're going to get caught for it, you're going to get caught for it. So that's all I really have to say about it.
I don't trust the whole the Jets did it too.
I saw it. Yeah, they pushed it. No, they pushed. But it doesn't matter because, like I said, they should have been the ones saying something about the Jets doing it too earlier, and maybe they would have got caught for it. But moving on to topic number 2, headhunting in the NFL. Apparently, Brandon Meriweather is getting some flack for it from a couple of Chicago Bears who he popped during Sunday's game, and he got a 2-week suspension, but it's now been reduced to 1 week. What do you think about the headhunting?
He's been out of control ever since he came back from injury at the beginning of the season. He even hurt himself trying to go for somebody's head. And then he was down for a little bit, and I even made a tweet about it. Like, you never want to see anybody get hurt in the NFL. But this is the one time that finally something happened to him, because he's been doing this his whole career. He's legitimately known for just going after people's heads. He will launch at the head no matter what part of the field he's in. He's a headhunter, literally the headhunter. He's the reason why the NFL is cutting back or looking like it's softer now, because you got guys like this that just have no disregard for the safety of other people and not even himself. And he's out of control. He needs to be suspended. He needs to get taught a lesson. He needs to get suspended for half a season.
Yeah, I agree. Him and Deshaun Goldson. Deshaun Goldson's actually a 49er, but he does it too. And he probably doesn't do it as bad as Meriweather. But when you're launching at someone's head with your head, that's a different story. If you're launching with your shoulder and you're actually trying to use your shoulder in good ways and tackling in the proper ways the NFL wants you to, that's a much different story. You see a lot of players that hurt people still, but they're lunging with their shoulder, and even then they get caught for the helmet to helmet, which is so stupid in my opinion. But But yeah,
Yeah.
guys like this, they're trying to hurt. They're trying to talk junk to you. They're trying to hurt you so they can get over you and talk junk. They need to go. I agree. But moving on to the
Exactly.
third topic, is it legit? The BCS standings came out, and number one and number two, of course, are Alabama and Florida State. But did Oregon, the Ducks, did they get the shaft?
They did not get the shaft. You know what? In my opinion, the Pac-12 is a two-team right now. In the last few years, a two-team race between Stanford and Oregon. And UCLA is always around, but that's because they have a bad South. Pac-12 South they have to deal with. USC is not the same team. And just the Pac-12, in my opinion, also the Big Ten are just weaker than the SEC and the Big 12 and some of these other conferences. Now, don't get me wrong, the ACC has not proven anything. Me and you did a show, and we talked about the ACC is back on the rise. You can't fault Florida State though for being a number 5 seed, destroying a number 3 seed. Whether or not that team was exposed, that's not the point. That was a number 3 seeded team that everybody thought was going to be competing with Oregon for the championship game, and they literally got smashed by Florida State. So, in my opinion, I thought Florida State proved that they were the better team in the world, in the country. Now, a lot of people can also make the argument that maybe Florida State and Oregon should be 1 and 2, not Alabama. Alabama though has a history. They're coming off of a 2-3 in a row already. So you can't fault Alabama's schedule just because they're playing easy in the SEC. So I mean, this is why the playoff system is going to be working next year when it finally comes in. Too bad it didn't happen this year, but for now, if these teams go all the way, Oregon might still jump Florida State anyways because they might have the stronger schedule based on the teams they're playing.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Pac-12 or Pac-10 or 12, whatever they are now, they're a little overrated. And you saw it this year with Stanford losing to Utah, and I think that might have hurt Oregon as well because when you have Pac-10 teams losing to other teams from the, I believe, Utah's in the WAC, you don't. When you have that happening, now your conference looks a little bit like they're a little bit, overrated, and there you go. There go the standings. But Florida State looked legit. Their defense is on point, and that kid, Famous Jameis, is awesome. So I like the fact that it's Alabama number 1 and number 2 at Florida State, and I just think that's going to be overall. If it stays that way, it would be a great championship game. At least that would be good to end it all off, before next year, before they do the playoffs. But moving on, fourth topic, is there no love lost between LeBron and Kevin Garnett over the whole Ray Allen leaving Boston fiasco? Because LeBron actually said some stuff about Garnett leaving now, and Paul Pierce bolting to the Nets, even though it was kind of technically a trade.
This is the kind of stuff, in my opinion, why everybody hates LeBron James. Just when it looks like he finally is starting to win people over, he says something like this that is completely off base. It's not the same thing at all. Ray Allen was a free agent and chose to leave to go to Miami whenever apparently there was some, a rift, which, I mean, understandable. Ray Allen has every right to choose where he wants to go, just like LeBron did a couple of years ago when he made the decision. This is completely different, though, because what Ray Allen did was leave. Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett were traded. And, in fact, one of them had to be convinced to waive their no-trade clause, which was Kevin Garnett, because he said he was going to retire Boston for life. So it's not anywhere near the same thing. I can't say it's the same thing at all. So I don't know why LeBron would even suggest that it has the same kind of meaning. So, in my opinion, LeBron was no wrong in this. There really is no right and wrong in this thing. But I could actually see this being something that they could use, the Nets, to not even further pursue their, vision of trying to beat them. And it might help out in the end, but we'll see. I think that team is too strong, LeBron's and the Miami Heat.
Yeah, Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce were kind of hurt. They were hurt by Ray Allen when he left because the whole Miami is the enemy, and him leaving for Miami as a free agent hurt them, pissed them off, and that's why they had the whole big problem because they want to beat LeBron, not join him. And Ray Allen did the opposite, and that hurt him. But, LeBron had no right to really say – I mean, he has every right to say what he wants, but he had no real, nothing to go for by saying that, by calling out Garnett and Paul Pierce when they were traded. And like I said, Paul Pierce had to convince Garnett to come. he was asking, what
Yeah.
pieces are there? Are they going to trade away everybody? Like, he wanted to make sure before he left Boston that the right pieces are in place for him to make another championship run. So yeah, I agree completely. LeBron was way out of bounds on this one, and it's going to be a good upcoming season when those two teams play. But it looks like we're done. And any of the other topics you want to talk about, or things you want to suggest for our viewers for next week?
Nah, I'm pretty sure everybody's going to be wondering about Josh Freeman. He is hurt, and it looks like Christian Ponder is going to get the start after all. So there you go. Carousel quarterback continues in Minnesota.
Yeah, that's just crazy. But guys, leave topics in the description. Anything you want us to talk about for next week. We try to pay attention to those and things you might want to discuss. There is a World Series coming up, Boston and St. Louis. I have a Boston hat on. I am not a Boston Red Sox fan. I just happen to have the hat on. I am a Mets fan. So, anyways, and that's that's a topic in itself. But yeah, don't forget to like and favorite the video or whatever you want to do, and leave feedback. Let us know how the show is going. Let us know if there's any improvements we can make and anything else. All right. So for the fourth quarter, Siggy and JT, we out. Peace.